Welcome to the I Love Mondays podcast week in review.
I love Mondays with Mike Heller.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed bunker in the Badger State. This is I Love Mondays with Mike Heller. Powered by determination and a little bit of duct tape. Here's your host, Mike Heller.
Cap, it is a pleasure to have you on. I know you had to kind of rush a little bit to make this happen to get back to your home studio, so thanks for doing it. And we're going to have some fun over the next 3 days, aren't we?
We are going to have a great time. Yeah, I just left downtown Chicago. I host the morning show on ESPN Chicago, and then I have offices out in the suburbs where my staff and I run a YouTube channel. So I hightailed it here to talk Brewers Cubs with you, and coming off a 2 out of 3 loss to the White Sox. This is a big series for the Cubs, a game and a half up on your Brewers.
So when we talk about the standings, the Cubs have been in control relatively early. They were 7-9, and then they won 20 of 23, 2 10-game winning streaks in the run. They've won 15 straight at home. But fan bases in any market, and certainly in Chicago, they worry about things. So what are they worried about right now? What bugs the fan base? What do you see that is of concern with Chicago, the Cubs?
Pitching. I mean, you look at what you thought was going to be your rotation probably by this point, maybe a week from now. Cade Horton, he's gone till probably 2028. Justin Steele, he had Tommy John a year ago and now had a setback, and they said minimum is after the All-Star break. I don't think he's going to be back until August if he doesn't have any more setbacks. So those two guys are gone. Your opening day starter, Matthew Boyd, tore the meniscus in his knee, had surgery 10 days ago. He's gone for another 4 to 5 weeks. So you're missing 3 of your top 5. Ben Brown, who has thrown the heck out of the ball, has been your best high-leverage reliever. Yeah, they had to press him into the last 2 starts. He's given you 4 innings and 4 innings. And in those 8 innings, he's given up 1 hit and no runs. Yeah. So now they're trying to stretch him out. Colin Ray and Jamison Tyone, pretty mediocre.
So when Craig Counsell left Milwaukee, the only place from a Brewers fan standpoint that he couldn't go, because we thought he might go to the Mets or just sit it out. The only place he couldn't go was to the north side of Chicago. Hell, if he'd have gone to the White Sox, we wouldn't have cared 1 iota. The rivalry was already there. I mean, Cubs Brewers had their moments with Counsell in the Brewers dugout. Is that the over-the-top moment? Is that what has made this even more combative, special, and in a baseball perspective, this is what you want? Is that what made it?
I think that probably was the cherry on top of the sundae. First of all, look, we have the Cubs-White Sox series, and in unison, 42,000 people are screaming Green Bay sucks.
It's good to unite behind a common cause.
It is. And I love that the Packers fans all come out, the Bears still suck. I love all of it. Yeah. Just put it in my veins. It's tremendous. Craig coming here was a big thing. I remember sitting in this very seat in my office, and I'm looking at my phone, and we knew he was going to make a decision. And I said to my partner, I'm like, Ken Rosenthal just tweeted,
no way.
Makes decision, Cubs. I'm like, what? Yeah. And couldn't believe it, and took great glee at the fact that he left our rival to come to us. And I think he's a really good manager. I do think he's a little bit overrated. I do. The Brewers have continued to win without him. I think he, again, is a good baseball man. Is he a $40 million baseball man? I don't know about all that.
Has he been successful, Cap? From your perspective, has the Counsell move in Chicago been a successful move?
Oh, yeah. I mean, they did win a playoff series last year. They did win 92 games. But from the perspective of he's coming somewhere because he knows the resources the Cubs have, and the team in Milwaukee that spends 110 million less keeps winning the division. So no, it hasn't been successful. That may not be his fault, but This year, I think we have 7 of our major league pitching staff on the injured list. Yeah. 7 of them. And your number one prospect, he was supposed to throw live batting practice over the weekend. He had been shut down with an elbow issue. So, yeah, it has not gone according to plan so far, even though they have the 3rd most wins in baseball and they're in first place.
Cap, I think I've listened to you enough over the years to understand that when I ask you this question, you're going to actually say nice things, even though emotionally you don't want to. But the Brewers have been really well run. From Counsell to Pat Murphy, it's been upstairs. David Stearns, before he leaves to go to New York, where he's just a blank show with the Mets, they haven't done anything. They've gotten worse. But from David Stearns to Matt Arnold, the Brewers consistently underspend the competition in the division, St. Louis and Chicago being chief among them, and yet win all the time. What is it about what they do that impresses you with the Brewers and the way they run their business?
They don't react. They are proactive. You know what? We're not going to sign Freddie Peralta to some insane 7 years, 200 and whatever $1 million deal. We're going to trade him now. My only problem with the Brewers, and I think they're an exceptionally well-run organization. They keep running young guys out. They're not afraid to play young guys. They have reclamation projects like Andrew Vaughn last year. My only problem with their ownership is whenever you get an opportunity, I never see them push their chips in and try and win it. Last year, you had the best team in baseball. And I never saw them at the end of July go, you know what? Screw it. Here's 3 prospects. I want that guy. And they just, for whatever reason, it seems like ownership, not Pat Murphy, not your GM, not the players. It seems as ownership's content. And I find that sad.
Yeah. So, and I'll do this for those who maybe didn't see it. So I'm looking at your react yesterday after the Cubs lost with the White Sox on the South Side. And you talked about a bigger picture in this season and what the Cubs are going to have to do at the trade deadline. And they're going to have to do some uncomfortable things in trading away future potential stars. One of the things that the Brewers don't do, to your point, you talk about the Cubs being in a win now mode. And one of the things that frustrates Brewer fans that you just pointed out is that this organization never seems to be in the win now mode. They're win over the next 3 to 5 year mode. How do you measure the two? How do they weigh against one another?
So the way I look at it when I'm the Brewers, it's not going to always be that way. It isn't. But when you are the best record in baseball and you're one step from the World Series.
Yeah.
I don't understand how you don't make a move and say, guys, we're going to give you the best possible chance to go beat the Los Angeles Dodgers. And whereas the Cubs spent $100 million more.
And last year that would have been going to get Eugenio Suarez. Now Suarez didn't do much down the stretch after he was acquired.
In Seattle.
Suarez would have been the move in Seattle. That would have been the move that Brewers fans wanted, was to go get a power hitting third baseman, which they still don't have. And they're going to ask for the same thing in Milwaukee again this July when we get near the trade deadline. If the Brewers are playing like they are, they're last, Cap, in Major League Baseball in home runs. The Brewers are last. Their leading home run hitter has 6. So people are going to say, you got to go get somebody. They play a different style of baseball, which is kind of over the course of time not proven to win as consistently in October, when you got to piece together a walk and 3 singles to score a run or 2 runs. The 3-run homer kind of wins in October. And you were saying yesterday on your react that the Cubs are going to have to make that kind of a move at the trade deadline.
Yeah, you're going to have to get uncomfortable. You have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, as Ben Johnson told the Bears when he took over a year ago.
Yeah.
You're going to trade away a prospect and go, oh my God, that guy's killing it for the Mets or whoever it is, the Marlins. But you have got to look and go, all right, I need Freddie Peralta to Chicago or Sandy Alcantara or whoever that pitcher is that's going to be moved. This team's good enough because they will have some reinforcements coming back. They have got to go get a bullpen arm and a starter like right now. They have their top prospect is a kid named Pedro Ramirez. He's in AAA. He's a third baseman. Well, you just locked up Alex Bregman for 5 years. You got Dansby for 3 more. Nico just signed a 6-year extension. Michael Busch you control, and you're going to lock him up. Pete Crow Armstrong has got a 6-year extension after this year. Yeah. So you have got a lot of guys on your infield that are going nowhere or up the middle of your diamond. You could trade a prospect like that, and if he goes to the Hall of Fame, so be it. I need pitching, and I need it now.
Tell me about Pete Crow Armstrong. Is this year has been, I look at it from the outside in, I think he's been disappointing this year offensively. He's ridiculous on defense. Is there, he reminds me a little bit of Javi Baez in that from an opposing standpoint, I don't like him, but I understand, I recognize the talent. What do you see in PCA, and can he, I don't know if this is the right way to phrase it, can he settle it down to be better consistently on offense, or is this who he is?
No, I don't think this is who he is. He is the best defensive player in the sport, I believe. He's ridiculous. And he had a throw yesterday from pretty deep center field to gun down Andrew Benintendi trying to go first to third. He had a bunch of outstanding plays over the weekend. He had a run-in with a lady who was at her engagement party, and she was chirping at him after he missed the ball, crashed into the wall, and then he chirped profanely right back at her. Yeah. I love it. That's what's great about sports rivalries. He's gotten better with pitch recognition and selection. Alex Bregman has taken him under his wing, and they've worked on it, but he still has to be a whole lot better offensively. He's a great base runner, and he's an even better kid. I've gotten to know him. He's a great human.
Let's. I want to flip to a little Packers Bears, and then I'll come back to this to wrap. And I appreciate you spending time with us.
Sure.
Ben Johnson, to me, the combination of Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams is the best thing that's happened to this rivalry since the Mike Ditka era of Packers and Bears. 1 year in, Ben Johnson was really he was really good. I didn't know because they don't always work. The great OC doesn't always become a great head coach. What impressed you in the way he went about his business in year one in that relationship, and how healthy in a combative way is this rivalry Packers Bears right now?
The rivalry is engaged. It is back. He took Caleb, and the blank show that we were the last year of Eberflus, Caleb's rookie year, all that went out the window, and you saw Caleb Williams make plays where, oh my God, the Bears offense actually looks like it's one of the better offenses in the league. Ben Johnson, I just had a Bears player in here, and he said, I've been in the league 15 years. He's the smartest coach I have ever been around. So to see the way the culture has changed, the accountability, Ben's not afraid to call people out. He's not afraid to be honest. And I love the fact that he said, I hate the Green Bay Packers.
Yeah.
I do not like them, but they also should feel the same about us. He has bought into the rivalry.
It does. It goes both ways, and it has for a long time. It has now, but historically it had been there, and then for 30 years it went away.
You're right. With Ditka, it did.
Right. It was perfect, and then it went away because, to be fair, the Bears made many wrong choices at both head coach and quarterback. They repeated the same mistakes. They didn't get the right guy, and now they've got the right guy. And there's not going to be any stop and let's have a conversation between the two head coaches either before or after a game. And Cap, that makes this fantastic. Forrest Gregg and Mike Ditka did not like one another. That was good for the game, but the Bears were better. The Packers couldn't compete. Right now, they're both at a pretty high level, and the coaches don't like one another. That's really good.
Yeah, I absolutely love it. I own a home in Wisconsin, and I proudly wear all my Bears gear. And it's in Oshkosh, and there's a bar there. It's one of the oldest in Wisconsin called Jerry's. And I will walk in there because I'm friends with the owner. I have my Bear stuff on, and there'll be these old timers all go, oh, this effing guy's here again. And I'll wear my Cubs stuff. I love the rivalry. Like, I was pissed off this morning on the radio about the Cubs and the White Sox. I don't cheer against the Sox except when they play my team.
Right.
And when we lose the way we lost yesterday, that's unacceptable to me. And the same thing goes for the Chicago Bears. To be lost in 30 years of insanity, and now the rivalry's engaged. Bears, Packers, Christmas Day, let's go.
Yeah, it's really good. And I think I learned last year, and like I said a little bit earlier, I didn't know if Ben Johnson would make that transition because they don't all do it. He was really good at it in year one. To me, the question, I'll let you answer this in your view, does Caleb Williams have the drive to be really good 60 minutes for 17 games and not just great when all the chips are down? Because there's nobody I would want with a game hanging in the balance more than him. However, I don't know if he's my first quarter quarterback, in the upper echelon of the league. Does he have that part in him with Ben Johnson to be great for 60 minutes in a game?
So I had Tyson Bagent here in my studio last week. He's our backup quarterback. And my partner and I are interviewing him. And my partner said, Tyson, what's the most impressive thing that you've seen Caleb do over the last 12 months? I thought he was either going to say, well, it's all those comebacks, the throw against the Rams. He said, the last 30 days.
Yeah.
What do you mean? He said, this dude's work ethic and commitment to excellence and leadership in the building is at an entirely different level. And he said, there is no ceiling on what this offense can be.
Cap, let me take it back to Wrigley Field over the next 3 nights. Who's the better team? Who's got a better, I think this is sort of rhetorical, at least it would be in my category. Who has a better roster on the field right now, Brewers or Cubs?
I think the Cubs do because you don't have Christian Yelich. How long is he out for?
Well, he's back this weekend, so he did play Saturday, Sunday, so he should be in a lineup over the next 3 weeks.
So we should see him tonight. Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew Vaughn has been banged up throughout the early part of this year. You don't have Freddie Peralta in that rotation. Look, tomorrow night when Mizorowski pitches, advantage Brewers. That guy's a beast, an absolute beast. Tonight when Shota pitches against Sproat, I think it's advantage Cubs. So we'll see where this goes, but I do think that roster top to bottom is the Cubs have the better roster. They should win this series.
Do Cubs fans hate the Brewers the way they should? I mean, I know you hate the Cardinals. That's historical. Have they learned to hate the Brewers at the same fever pitch?
Yes, 1,000%. 1,000%. And when the Brewers, in my opinion, idiotically took the L flag and held it up after the series. If you wanted to commandeer and do something cute, you grab a W flag and you fly it. The L flag, you're holding up a lost flag? That's not even really a thing. Yeah, the Cubs fans cannot stand the Brewers.
You didn't like that, huh?
No, I thought it was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. I did. Hold up a W flag would have been cool. Cute. Huh. You guys got the W. You took our W flag. An L? A loss? Yeah, it was the dumbest thing I've seen in sports in a long time.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree on that. But I listen, dumb things like that, your perspective on it as a dumb thing, it fuels. I mean, there's fuel to this. And I know Brewers fans hated for a very long time the Zambrano era, the Joe Madden era, when Cubs fans would come up and own Miller Park. And it not quite at the same level right now. The Brewers fans have done a better job, and the Brewers have maybe done a better job of limiting some of that. But, this is as good as it gets. Next 3 nights in Wrigley and all-night games, a little surprising. Weather shouldn't be an issue, going to be cold on Wednesday. But this is really good. It mimics what's going on with Packers and Bears right now. And I think from a baseball perspective, it's got that juice to it.
Oh, it absolutely has that juice, and I cannot wait for first pitch at 6:40 tonight. And let's play them out. Let's see. We'll start with tonight's game.
Cap, let's go get it. Hey, I appreciate you doing this. I know you had to kind of rush back to do it, so I appreciate it, and we'll look forward to the next time our paths get to cross.
Yeah, you got my number. Anytime you need me, I'm in.
All right. Thanks, Cap. Bring in my guy, Courtney Corning. Add him to the mix here. CC, it's been a little bit. How are you, man?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing really good. Last night helps. Listen, I love what we get. And did you see that right out of the gate? I give you a listen. I love out of the gate that we get the nightly drama of Major League Baseball. That's, I think, the thing I love about it the most. Yep. We don't talk for 6 days and then watch the game and then talk for 6 days and then watch another game. In baseball, it's fresh every night. And the Brewers had a really good opener at Wrigley.
Yeah. So I have to tell you, by the way, just for people watching, you and I did not coordinate wearing Badger Connect gear.
Oh, so yeah, good point. I'm actually the reason I purposefully went here is that I'm doing a Badger Connect podcast with Pat Lambert, the Badgers director of recruiting. He's at noon today. I'm going to record that segment with him, and so I fly the flag when I'm doing that.
And I'm going to answer your baseball question. I want to say one thing about Badger Connect stuff. Can I tell a quick sidebar story? Okay,
do it.
So I got some Badger Connect gear when I joined like a year ago. I got the T-shirt, but then I was able to go on. I ordered a hat. I ordered some other stuff because I actually really liked the logo. And it dawned on me that I think they should, and I don't know if they do or they don't, Mike, but I think they should only let people who are Badger Connect members order Badger Connect gear. So I'll tell you, just because I think it adds like to this whole idea of like you're supporting Wisconsin and you're doing a little more. You know, it's funny. My cousin works at Sand Valley. He got me out last year to play Lido, and I learned that at Lido, if the gear you buy says Lido, that's for the public only. If it's the logo without the word Lido, that's for members. Right. So I was thinking the other day, like, it'd be kind of fun if Badger Connect stuff was just for Badger Connect people. Is just another way when you're out showing your Badger pride to say, hey, you know what, like, I support this and I love it. So just my 2 cents, and that's why I threw it on today. I thought it'd be
okay. All right. So let me interject. Is Lido now an annual for you? Like you got another one set up this summer? Will that be a yearly?
I'm going the first week in July to play.
Yeah, you
Lido.
are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Have you played?
Have not. I've not been to Sand Valley. Period.
Okay. Well,
I was supposed to go with you last year.
I know.
With a group, and then it just through a myriad of different things, radio related, but I don't work in radio anymore. It didn't end up coming to fruition.
Well, we're going to change that because Lido's worth it. So anyhow, that's just my story on how I got this idea of Badger Tank. But to your baseball thing, you know this, like I'm a football addict, and for most of my life, frankly, I've always been kind of a baseball is third or fourth guy. Sure. As I'm getting older, my appreciation for baseball is growing. I don't necessarily know why that is, but what you just said really resonated with me. Like, I do like two things, and you'll probably make fun of me for one of them. One, exactly what you said. I love that there's a game almost every night. Because I am such an addict, like the worst part for me, like NFL bye week is like the longest, like 14 days.
Oh, no kidding. Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And followed only slightly behind by a Thursday night game, which means I've got to wait like 10 days. You know,
so this year the Packers did you no favors. The NFL did you no favors.
No, they did not. So, like, and that's funny when you have a team like the Packers, you play a lot of Sundays and Thursdays and Monday nights, and it's cool that your team gets all this exposure, right? But you don't really get that fix. So I agree 100%. I love the fix. The other thing I love about baseball, and this may, a real baseball guy like you may really make fun of me for this, is I only have to be like 60% invested during the game.
That's true. It can be passive watching.
Yeah.
You know, you can be doing other things. You can multitask. I don't like. I like to lock in.
Yeah.
You know, last night I enjoyed the whole process mostly, but you know, I had a 90-minute dead window that I had to catch up when we finished, when we got out of the dead zone of that desert in southern Utah, northern Arizona. I couldn't see anything.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, and so the passive watching, I agree. Like, at times I will really lock in. Obviously, we're all spoiled now because we can rewind everything. Right. So like if I miss something, I can just go back and watch it. I don't miss anything. I am learning. You got really blurry, by the way, with your camera.
Yeah, I see that, and I'm not really sure why. And it's getting darker, which makes me a little nervous that I might be going away somehow here.
Yeah, this is like a bad sci-fi movie.
Can you still hear me cleanly?
Hear you clear as day. And really, we don't need to see you. You're the second best looking guy on the podcast.
Yeah, good point. Solid point.
Thank you. But I'm learning actually one of my favorite pastimes is golfing while I have the Brewer game on the radio. Now, I played with my cousin the other day who's you're back. Who much like you is
no idea why.
A baseball addict, and we were out golfing, and he can't have the game on. He's so invested in listening for the next pitch, the next thing, he can't focus on playing golf while it's in the background. So, because he's so invested in it, you know what I mean?
Right.
Whereas for me, it's great because it's just that background noise that keeps me off of wondering, why I chunked that last shot. So anyhow, I love it. And I know this is, your picture looks great. I know this is not an ad for the MLB app, but I will tell you, all of the things you get now with baseball, watching Brewers games through the MLB app, no offense to the lovely folks at Bally's, but compared to what we were getting for the last couple of years, it is light years ahead. I mean, the ability to listen to the game no matter where I am, watch it no matter where I am. I just learned last night watching the game on my TV, you can watch this gameplay thing and it gives you all these analytics while in a screen around the live game. You can see pitches and break angles and all sorts of crazy stuff. So I'm with you. Like it really is a great experience. And of course also allows us to do it from everywhere. So it's a fantastic piece of technology. So anyhow, I digress. All right. You're back.
Yeah. I don't honestly like that's what has just happened here on camera is a little confusing to me. And as anybody who's watched this on a regular basis knows, I'm not tech savvy, so I don't know what happened. And I don't know why it came back to being clean again, but it did. By the way, a little note, Zach says, nice location, Mike. Yeah, he might have some knowledge of where I am in Scottsdale for the next few days, and I appreciate his family's willingness to share. Great friends of ours, and I appreciate that part of it. Mike says the Badgers club team had a hell of a run, lost in the playoffs over the weekend. That just a quick aside on that. And then Dan has three good food recommendations. Dan is now listen, we're big fans of Dan as we have a business relationship with One Community Bank and appreciate it. Dan says 3 food recommendations: Breakfast Club, Buck and Ryder, haven't been, and AZ88. Haven't been to any of those 3 yet. We're going to go to Isabella's Kitchen on Thursday. That's the only specific plan we have. And then the wedding is at the Henry. And a couple of strong pours last night of the Central Standard L Flag bourbon last night for Mike in Merrill.
I would believe like I did eat at AZ88 when I was out there.
You did? Okay.
In February. Good food. I will tell you, I don't know how much free time you have with having a wedding, but the living room in Scottsdale area is great for sitting outside and chilling. And, if you want to drive into Phoenix, what is believed by many to be the best pizza restaurant in America is in downtown Phoenix, Arizona.
Is that right?
Yeah, a place called Pizzeria Bianco. Chris Bianco's chef there. My brother has a restaurant here and modeled some of his stuff after that. And that place blew up probably 15 or so years ago now when Oprah named it the best pizza in America. Chris is kind of widely regarded as having started the kind of the fire roasted pizza movement in the United States. So, it's right downtown. It is like 2 blocks from where the Suns play.
Let me jump into a little bit of this Brewers Cubs, like a bigger picture stuff. Last night was great.
It's not a food show, so we should talk baseball.
No. Well, I love talking food. I love going, but I think I don't know. We're kind of exhausted. We're good. We're good. Jumping back in here. So one of the great things, and if you're on the other side of this, it's not great. The Cubs have a World Series in 2016. The Brewers haven't been in one since 1982. And the city of Milwaukee has won a World Series with the Braves in the 1950s, but we're talking about 70 years ago, right? So that's a long effing time. Yeah. The Brewers haven't been to one since 82. That's the year I graduated high school. So I was on the campus of UW Oshkosh as an incoming freshman in South Scott Hall when the Brewers were playing a best-of-5 AL championship series. I have to remind the young crowd every now and then, Courtney, of how the playoffs worked. The Brewers won the AL East, then beat the California Angels in a best-of-5. First 2 in Anaheim and the next 3 in Milwaukee. The Brewers lost the first 2, won 3 in a row in Milwaukee, and that sent them to the World Series. They won 3 games and went to the World Series. 3 postseason games, went to the World Series, and got beat by the Cardinals in 7 after leading the series 3-2. It is way different, obviously, now because everybody's playoffs have expanded. And if you're going to get there now and you know, the Brewers had the bye to open last year, but if you're going to get there now without the bye, you got to win 3. You got to win 3 times to get there. You got to win your wild card series. You got to win the divisional round. You got to win the championship series to get there, right? So you got to win 5. You got to win 9 games to get to the World Series.
Yeah.
But what I love about who the Brewers are, despite that the Cubs have, in spite, however that phrase is out, that the Cubs have a World Series in their trophy case, is that the Brewers continue to do more and do it with less than just about anybody in baseball. Now, that is something to hang your hat on in a good way. However, at one of these times, it's got to pay. You got to go to the pay window when it's all said and done and cash in. So I love who they are because I think they're incredibly well run. And Courtney, we've been very lucky that the Packers have been incredibly well run in a window that the Brewers have also been incredibly well run. And I would say this, even though Wisconsin is faltering right now in football, I think they're coming back in it. But those 2 franchises, Packers and Brewers, have given the state of Wisconsin a ton of great stories and heartbreak over the last, for the Packers, it's much longer, but for the Brewers, the last 10 to 15 years, without question.
Yeah. And I'll say, Mike, so a couple of things. I think you're spot on. I think this state really loves it too. Look, Wisconsin, we don't have we have Milwaukee, but let's just be honest. Milwaukee is not a major metro.
You look, by the way.
I did.
You did.
What kind of look? But we don't have a major metro. We don't have a Chicago.
Right.
We don't have Milwaukee's not really a major metro. We don't really have it. And so I think the other thing you get in Wisconsin, it goes a little bit without saying, but like the Brewers and the Packers in particular are really kind of how Wisconsinites see themselves, right? Correct. Or wrong, yeah. Right? I mean, very blue collar, kind of do less with more, kind of the David and Goliath situation, right? That's I think, and so it really resonates with this state. I will say that I also think that's why it really chaps, besides just the natural geographical rivalry. I think that's really why it chaps the ass of all the Chicago sports fans. Like I've got a really good buddy. I was down at St. Louis a couple weeks ago playing golf with my buddy Ben. Ben actually was in the Cubs organization out of college for a few years, and is a diehard Cubs fan. And we get into this debate all the time, essentially about what the Brewers and the Packers are able to do. And I think one of the things that really bothers them is they really feel like they should, right? They should have the natural upper hand. The fact that the reality is the fact that the Brewers and Cubs are even competitive in a lot of ways is, without baseball structure, is kind of ludicrous.
Yeah.
And so like when you hear them say, well, them taking the picture of that flag is, sour grapes, it's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. All that, you hear those kind of things, you get there and go, well, is it really, or are you just really bent? Like, are you just really bent because little brother beat up big brother again? Because let's just be honest, financially, we're little brother.
Yes. Yeah.
When it comes to your point,
almost the whole
9-9 last year on the field, they're not little brother.
Right.
And I think it drives them crazy.
And I have this, and I will always have this. I like Craig Counsell.
Yeah.
That move he made was traitorous. And I get it.
Yeah.
It's his professional career. If 20 years ago I'd have left, if I were doing sports talk in Madison and had left to take a sports talk job in Chicago, where I'm talking Bears and Cubs and Bulls and Blackhawks and White Sox and once in a blue moon Northwestern football, that would have felt like, God, I just went to the other side.
Yeah.
But when Counsell did it, he did it to all of us. And I don't begrudge him the move. I'm just talking about the emotional wave that gave us in this state. Had Mike Holmgren left Green Bay after winning the Super Bowl, getting the playoffs for 2 more years, losing the Super Bowl, and then another year in the playoffs, and that game against San Francisco, and had he left and gone to take the head coaching job with the Chicago Bears, he would have been hated forever in Green Bay. I don't know if that comes back, because there I think it's even a greater passion.
Yeah.
Craig Counsell is going to be at some point, because of his entire career, will be celebrated to a certain extent, but that will always be muted because of that decision. And from a Brewers fan perspective, even though I like Craig Counsell, sat in his office so many times during spring training and enjoyed the conversations and the back and forth, I will never not view that as a huge slap in the face to a fan base that treated him, and he gave it everything back. It's not like he shortchanged us, but he was our son.
Yeah.
That was our son.
Oh, yeah.
And he left. And I will always feel traded on, cheated on by that move. Always. And maybe that says something about me. I don't know.
Well, I don't think you're wrong. I mean, I think all the things you said are true. I mean, I have some other thoughts on it. I'll say, like, to your point, if Homer would have done that, I don't think it bothered a lot of Packers fans. I think the fact that Favre went to New York, in between New York and Minneapolis, and let's just be honest, I say this all the time for the Favre haters out there. Well, he didn't choose to leave. It's kind of like Rodgers.
Right.
They didn't choose to leave.
Yep.
Craig chose to leave, which obviously leaves you with a completely different feeling, right? Rodgers and Favre have always been easy for me because of the circumstances around their departure. It was just time, right?
We agree wholeheartedly on that front. Some people will never understand it, and I don't know why, but yes, we agree.
Yeah, and Brett Favre, he should have to retire because
Correct.
The Packers want to move on. Aaron Rodgers should have to go, oh, I guess the Packers want. So I don't get into it. I'll say this about Counsell, two things. One, not to defend him, but I've often thought it's probably easier for him than we think it is, because if you grow up it shouldn't even say grow up, but if you live a good part of your life as a professional athlete, the reality is you have to be somewhat flexible in your allegiances in the way professional sports works, right? The reality is part of your life is I might be from Wisconsin and I might love the Brewers, but if I was playing with the Brewers and I got a free agent deal to go play with the Angels and make a pile of money, that's just that's the business. So while you'd like to think that now he's a coach, maybe not, but I think it is easier on them because that's just part of their life, is that the allegiance is to whoever you're with today. Okay. Right. So I get it from Craig's standpoint. To your point, it doesn't make me any less like butthurt about it, but I get it. Conversely, I will say, and people say when I say this now, my buddy who's the Cubs fan says I say this all the time. As much as we all loved Craig, based on how it's gone since he left and Stearns left, is there a chance he's not the brains of the operation that we all thought he was?
No, I think as it turns out, it looks like he did us a favor.
Right.
Because I think Pat Murphy is in the handful 2 or 3 of the best managers of players, of people that I've seen take care of his craft. I mean, he is. I say this about great coaches all the time, and I think he is that. I say this about great coaches all the time, Courtney, is that Barry Alvarez would have been a hell of a baseball coach. Mm-hmm. Bo Ryan would have been a hell of a football coach.
Yep.
I think Kelly Sheffield could coach anything and win. Mm-hmm. I played for a guy at UW Oshkosh in Russ Tiedemann who wanted the basketball job. when he applied at UW Oshkosh. And it wasn't, he didn't get it. And they offered him the baseball job. Now he was a great baseball player too, but he was a basketball guy. He wanted that job. He would have won if they'd have made him the tennis coach.
Yeah.
It just great coaches. And I think Pat Murphy is that. They're going to win regardless of everything. And I think it took Murph a long time to grow into this role where he can combine a pretty non-negotiable attitude about some things and yet relate to players at a level that I think very few do. And I think his demons fought him early. I don't know enough about him to opine too deeply, but I think he had other issues. And I think he sometimes didn't control some of those. But right now, what he has brought to the table, and I don't even know his exact age, what he has brought to the table as the Brewers manager exceeds what Craig Counsell brought to the table as the Brewers manager. So in that regard, color us a little lucky that has happened.
Yeah, and I'm with you, Mike. It's funny you say about, great coaches. I used to say, every couple of years, right, when Bo Ryan was the coach, the media would come out and they'd pick Wisconsin to finish,
Yep.
If they're sixth or seventh in the Big Ten.
Yeah.
And I just laugh. It's like, and I used to say to people all the time when they're like, well, how are you so sure? And I used to say, well, because if Bo's got to lace up a pair of sneakers himself, and walk out there and shoot the free throws, they're going to win. That's how those guys are wired.
How many straight years did they finish top four in the Big Ten? And out of those, how many were they picked to finish below fifth or below? And the same thing on the Brewers. The Brewers, they're over under win total on all betting fronts. Now that's a little different, but the experts, the people that opine about these things, this was an 82 win team this year. I don't know. Maybe it still will be. It doesn't look that way right now, but that's their view of it. And it's like, how many times do you have to be fooled before you look at it and say they're greater than the sum of their parts?
Correct. Yeah. And to your point, winners, when it comes to coaches, I truly do believe there are guys, winners win. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, you take another Wisconsin guy. Now, people can argue the overall sense, but look, Lance Leipold leaving Whitewater and going to Kansas.
Correct.
Now, Kansas isn't going to win a national championship. But if you understand college football and you look at where Kansas was for the last 30 years, where they've now been the last 5 years, that is the product of guys who win. I mean, as much as I loathe what's happened at the University of Indiana, let's just be honest. What went on there with Signetti when he got there is he was just, people laugh when he said, I win, look it up.
Yeah.
Like that's how those guys are. They don't think they're going to win. They don't even expect they're going to win. They demand winning. And if you're not going to participate in winning, right, we'll move along. You're going dark again. So I agree with all that. I often joke with my Chicago friends. I always say, Brett Favre was the ultimate Packer because he found a way to get to Minnesota and break their hearts in the playoffs. And then essentially, like I like to create this story that was all like a Brett Favre master plan to throw one more like dagger into the Vikings. So I like to tell my Cubs fans, I was like, well, yeah, Craig didn't betray us. He took your money and went down there to keep breaking your guys' hearts. And then eventually he'll come back here and we'll all thank him. I like to create this story that the Counsell thing is actually all just some sort of deeply rooted Wisconsin subterfuge that he's willing to participate in.
Courtney, I feel like I'm in the witness protection program, I'm doing an interview on Dateline or 2020 or 48 Hours, and they're protecting my identity. We just need to alter my voice.
I was just gonna say, do you have one of those cool voice changer boxes?
I do. It's somewhere on my Roadcaster audio here, but I don't want to mess with which one it is.
Yeah,
but,
I get it.
I mean, one of these is one of those, and I don't know which one it is, so I won't be able to find it. Yeah,
I don't need to see it, but so from that standpoint, like I my Cubs fan buddies always think I'm playing sour grapes. I'm not so sure, and it's funny you say that about Murphy because honestly, I think a lot of people who really follow baseball, Mike, and maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but had a lot of the same concerns when David Stearns left for the Mets.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, oh, here we go. We lose Counsell. Okay. We kind of weather that storm. Stearns leaves, but now are we going to kind of lose the secret sauce behind the scenes? And I know you've talked about this a couple times in the last couple of weeks, or frankly, maybe JV was talking about it when you were in Europe. I don't remember. But point being, like, you really start to wonder, like, how much of the credit do you have to give to Mark Ananasio and the culture that he has built? Because the reality of it is, when you talk about losing your GM and losing your head coach and some of those other things, I know some of the assistant coaches have been retained with Murph as well, but Mark kind of becomes the constant, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you're back. I'm not saying that Mark is making personnel decisions or anything crazy like that. But when we talk about creating a winning culture, like you're talking about with coaches, like, you start to feel like just maybe he's, you know what I mean? Maybe he's not really getting enough credit. I think owners are often looked at as just, the guys a lot of money that write the checks. But he's been a real constant. And I think, I don't know this, and I'm sure you've met Mark. I only see him in interviews, so I don't know this, but I think Mark has really embraced, even though he's not from here, I think he's really embraced kind of Wisconsin culture, that idea that if he puts a good product on the field, he'll get support. And I think he's really, embraced that. And we really got lucky on top of it all that we got an owner, frankly, that had, kind of similar views, similar vision, similar principles to people in Wisconsin. He was able to make that whole thing work. Because let's be honest, it's just as likely you could have gotten an owner who all he wanted to do was drive up the value of the team, and you know what I mean, and sell it or relocate it, right?
Let me share a couple of things. Zach sent in, and you're a golf guy, so maybe this equates to you. Brewers equal Aaron Rye. Trust the process. Wear people down. Quietly work hard. Cubs equal Rory. Now, I like Rory, Zach.
So do I.
Loud traits. But I get it. The Brewers are process driven. They're also player personnel driven. They do stuff we don't see.
Yeah.
I mean, in developing. Look at what Sproat did last night after 2 walks to open, and Chris Hook goes out and visits with him. Chris Hook is like the quarterback whisperer in football. He's a pitcher whisperer, and his impact, he and Jim Henderson on Brewers pitchers now for a bunch of years, has been ridiculous. And I'll go back one step. Credit Mark Attanasio for a plan that kept Chris Hook in Milwaukee when Craig was leaving. Because the Cubs would have paid Chris Hook. They'd have paid to bring that staff with him, and they didn't. And then a couple of notes. Mike says Counsell's salary, $8 million, would be 6th on the Brewers' payroll, behind Yelly, Churio, Woody, Ashby, and Contreras. So think about that. Ashby is only making $5.5 million, Churio's at 7.25. And then add in that Miz, because of where he is in his contract, he will get paid. He will make all the money. But right now, he's not making any of the money. That's the way it works.
A few things. So a couple things on a couple things you said, Mike. I want to hit on the pitching stuff, but I want to get back to the salary stuff too. So let's not get too far away from that. But again, you've got a lot more baseball knowledge than me. One of the things that I haven't been able to figure out is, like, you have team now. Look, to your point, Chris Hook, wildly talented guy. Hopefully, we're paying him in a way that he wants to stay here, or maybe he just loves being here. I don't know that, but when you hear about the Brewers with their pitching lab and Chris Hook and these things, like, I really can't figure out, when you look at organizations like, I'll just keep picking on the Mets, because let's just be honest, with the amount of money the Mets have spent, and because Stearns is there, it's really hard to get your head around how you take a guy like David Stearns, who did what he did in Milwaukee, you now give him nearly unlimited resources, and how it goes so badly, right? It's really hard for me to understand how that happens. But more than that, it's like, Stearns was here. There's no secrets about, like, what the pitching lab is and the things they're doing. Why do you think it's so hard for organizations with more resources to replicate it? Is it as simple as Chris Hook's that much better than everybody else?
I do. I think there's a communication process. I don't think the message is different. The Brewers have a pitching lab. So do 29 other major league teams.
Right.
It's just Hook's way of communicating and seeing things. It's like, I don't know this sport, but it's like a horse trainer. They're all doing the same thing. I mean, there's no secrets. Nothing is maybe I'm wrong because I don't know this, but I wouldn't think that anything is, oh my God, what are they doing? What are they doing? Nobody knows what they're doing over there at that farm. That some people, and in this case, I think it's Hook. I think there's a knowledge base. I think the analytics are the same around the league, but I think he interprets a little bit differently. And it's impressive. It's impressive as hell what Sproat did, and then even what Drone does. These guys were failing in other places. That's why they came to the Brewers in deals, because the other franchise gave up on them. They said, we've seen enough of what you've got going on. We've seen enough of Sproat. We've seen enough of Drone. We've seen enough of Kyle Harrison. We're good. We can make this move. And the Brewers, like, if you were another team, Courtney, would you trade with the Brewers?
No.
They win every trade. The Brewers.
I can do what I would do.
Why would you do that? Why would you want to go get fleeced? You raise your hand and volunteer. Yeah, I'll make that deal with you.
Right. I think about this all the time. If I got a call from the Brewers front office for a pitcher that I had sitting in AA or AAA that had maybe been up to the majors and down, right, or whatever, kind of been through that cycle. If I got a call from the Brewers, the first thing I would think as an owner is, well, I'm not going to move this guy. I'm going to ask my people why they can't fix him.
Right.
Because I know if I'm getting that phone call, the Brewers think that there's something there that's fixable.
Yeah.
Right? That's what they think, or they are not inquiring, right? So I'm with you. And that's why the Mets thing always seems so much weirder to me, because when you say there's no secrets in that scenario, you're like, well, there's literally no secrets.
Yes.
The guy at the front office literally was here. He was sitting here. He was watching it. And if you go down to Chicago, let's just be honest, it doesn't matter that Craig was your manager. He knows what's going on in all those scenarios. So you have two really big market teams with a lot of resources where there's no secrets, because the guys who are in the room are in the room, right? They're there. Can I go back and say something about the salaries that people are talking about?
Yeah.
So I've said for a long time, and this won't be shocking to anybody, certainly not anybody who follows baseball, but the biggest challenge you have for a club like the Brewers compared to the Mets, the Dodgers, the Cubs, you go down the road, is it isn't really so much salary as it is that you just cannot be wrong.
Yeah, you can't make mistakes.
You can't make mistakes. That's really the biggest. Now, I'm not saying, look, we're not going to sign, $40 million, $50 million Mike Trout deals. I understand that there is, yes, a lower ceiling to our upper end, but really the biggest issue is you can go out and pay Christian Yelich, but it has to work out.
Yeah.
You can pay Corbin Burns. Like, you could pay Corbin Burns. The problem with having paid Corbin Burns is he then needed to start 30 games for 7 years. Like, you couldn't endure a shoulder injury or an elbow injury.
Well, and the issue, Courtney, like one of the great examples of this from a Brewers standpoint, why it's different there than it is in Chicago or even St. Louis or the New Yorks and LAs, is when they had to make a decision on Prince or Braun.
Yep.
When they had to make a decision on Molitor or Yount, and Molitor went someplace else. Why? Because Bud Selig said we cannot pay both. The Brewers ownership said we cannot pay both with Braun and Prince. They had to make a decision on Corbin Burns. Corbin Burns maybe leaves the Mets or the Yankees or the Dodgers, but I don't think so, because they would have paid what it took. Like, I look at the Angels and go, they have been the dumbest franchise in baseball. When they had Shohei at the end and could have moved Shohei and gotten a king's ransom with nothing around him in their franchise, they had to move him, and they didn't. And they've sat with Mike Trout. Poor Mike Trout, but I'd say poor Mike Trout. He's going to have the Joe Thomas career of being one of the greats. And Trout had one playoff. Joe didn't get one. And Trout's, that's all he's going to get. And when franchises are poorly run, that's what they get. They can get a superstar and they can decide to keep him if they live in a big market, but they can't win. And the Angels can't win.
Right. And it's fun. I'm trying to find I'm 100% with you. And I'm trying to find a great example of this. I'm not going to be able to find it while we're on the phone, but we're on the call. There was a guy, I'm trying to remember who it was. He pitched for the Marlins years ago. And then a couple years ago, he was really good for the Marlins. He showed up on the Dodgers roster as like a middle reliever. And I'll come up with his name while we're talking. Anyhow, I remember going to look and they were paying him like $37 million, right? To be a middle, to throw a middle relief. And that's kind of my point is where those market teams get so far ahead is if they give a guy a bunch of money and it doesn't work out, it doesn't matter they got a bunch of dead money or they're paying a bunch of money to a guy somewhere else. They'll just go get another guy, right? The reality of it is as badly as frankly Willie Adames has played since he left has played, does it matter?
Right.
Yeah. Who's our reliever who went to the Yankees? Why am I drawing a blank?
Kevin Williams.
Kevin Williams, right? I mean, that hasn't exactly worked out. Do the Yankees care? They don't care.
Yeah.
The flip side is if the Brewers had invested that money, if the Brewers had invested that money, that could have ended not a season, seasons for the Brewers.
Right.
So the thing, to bring us back full circle, our friends who are chiming in aren't wrong about their comments, but I will tell you, what's more amazing to me than what you're getting out of Jackson Chourio for $7.8 million is that the Brewers took a calculated gamble before there was any surefire bets on Jackson Chourio so that you could have him playing at this level for $7.8 million. That's really the magic of it. Let's face it, that's what they're trying to do with Cooper Pratt. Like they're trying to make these moves with other guys.
One of the reasons they will likely in 3 seasons lose Bryce Terang. They again, financially, they've decided which path they wanted to go, and it was more affordable on the gamble side to invest in Cooper Pratt like they did Jackson Chourio, like they'll likely do with Jesus Madej. That is more cost efficient, but it's a gamble. It's paid off. But Terang's going to be somewhere else because he would have already done the deal in Milwaukee if he was going to be here, is my guess. Now, if they surprise us on this, I will be thrilled because I am a big Bryce Terang fan. But that's kind of the way that plays out. And to that end, when we're talking about coaching, like I said, I'm going to talk with Pat Lambert, Badger football recruiting director. He's going to be on my Badger Connect podcast this Thursday. Wisconsin forever beat the competition in playing their game. And then the rules changed. And Chris McIntosh and others failed on the rule change. And now they're playing catch up. And it's very difficult to play catch up if you don't have all of the resources that those franchises that you're competing with do. And I'm talking about Michigans and Ohio States and Penn States and Southern Cals.
Yep.
And now Indiana. If you don't have the resources to necessarily keep up with the Joneses and you fall behind, it's really difficult to make it up. It's not like, I'm trying to think of the horse's name that came from dead last in the Derby. That doesn't work in this game. Indiana made it work, but what Indiana brought to the table was more dollars than most bring to the table.
Yep. So, by the way, David Price is who I was trying to think of.
Okay, yeah.
David Price, $32 million in 2022 to throw a middle relief for the Dodgers. So I agree with you, by the way, on the football thing. Is look, what's really interesting to me, and now you're definitely in my wheelhouse because I have a lot of. Look, I'm a fickle guy. I know you had Luke on. I know there's people who don't love Luke. It's been clear to me from things I've heard from people who are much more in the know than I am, and just a lot of reading and piecing things together. It's always been clear to me that shouldn't say it's been clear to me. It's always been my theory that Luke never got all of the support he was promised, or that it never, maybe not promised, but it just never all went exactly how they thought it was going to go. And part of that, for better or worse, and I totally get it because I love this city and I love the university and I love the state and all the things we do. The University of Wisconsin, it's clear to me, was trying to play by NIL rules.
Yeah.
That they believed were the rules while no rules existed.
It's real.
Okay, that's real. They really were like, oh, we're going to do name, image, likeness. Cool. We are actually going to help kids get branding and marketing deals. That was clearly the plan.
Yeah.
While other schools were like, cool, this is a way to give kids a lot of money. Okay, like
right.
That's clear that that's what happened. Now, does that mean, look, people will tell me I'm an apologist, all sorts of things. Now, does that mean that Luke's the right person and it's all going to, that does not. All I've said is, well, the story hasn't been written because you weren't allowing them to play on a level playing field. And if we're just going to be honest about it, if you think about how handcuffed they were, as bad as the results are, I actually keep asking myself, but are they? Because I just don't think people have a clear perspective of how financially handcuffed they were and how far they're. And I have buddies who are always like, well, coaches have to elevate. It isn't all just about getting the best players. And I agree, coaches do have to elevate. But I think there's a real chance that when you look at what Wisconsin did last year and the teams they beat and some of the games they were in, coaches did elevate. You don't elevate. I mean, if you believe what Ted Tellner got to say, you don't elevate 14th or 15th most money in the Big Ten to position 3.
Yes.
You elevate 14th or 15th place money in the Big Ten if you're lucky to 10, 11, or 12, if you do a really good job.
In the grand scheme, we're all on the same page. However, and I think your pals will say this too, Luke and his staff were not blameless. They're not blameless. They mismanaged a number of things. Phil Longo was one of them. Offensive line coaching has been another. Certainly they were handcuffed financially in trying to compete with who they were trying to compete. And then they made their own mistakes, and then they got bad breaks on injuries at the quarterback position in particular. But it was on them to not have had a quality backup quarterback that could run what you needed to run, and maybe threaten some people with his legs, which is what they had in Carter Smith back half of last year. Even though Carter wasn't great, he could threaten some people with his legs, and he changed some games just in that part of it. And previous, their backup quarterback was a D2 guy at best, who didn't belong on the field playing Big Ten games and couldn't do it. That's on them. That wasn't. I mean, some of it's money, sure, but they made their own run of mistakes.
Definitely not, Mike. And I know we're getting close to an hour. Now we're on to football, so I'll talk all day if you'll let me. But I'm certainly not going to sit here and tell you that they're blameless. That's not my. That would never be a point. Which is why I'm also very big on hey, I have no idea if Luke's the guy who's going to lead us forward. I don't know. Like I said, I just think we haven't really had a chance to find out. Now, I have heard that. Look, I don't want to be rumor mill. I have heard though that Luke knew Phil was the wrong choice pretty quickly, and because of the money invested, they were handcuffed.
And if that part is real, then shame on Chris McIntosh and the UW upper echelon for not recognizing. Ron Wolf said a long time ago, when you make a mistake and you figure it out, change it. And if the Badgers found that Longo was a mistake and wanted to change it and were pigeonholed into the moment to say you can't change it, too much money, can't do it.
It's pretty widely reported he wanted to coach. It's pretty widely reported he wanted to coach quarterbacks, talk to nobody else, not recruit any. I mean, there's a lot there. But so I'm with you. I don't know. Look, I don't know what's ahead. I will say real quick on the Carter Smith thing, because I know there's a lot of talk about how great Ryan Hopkins is, how great Carter Smith being fourth. I will say, it kind of bring it full circle, some of the other stuff you and I talked about. I'm actually a pretty big Carter Smith fan, and I think this kind of falls into what you were talking about with Bo Ryan and some of these other guys. Some guys are winners. Yeah. And look, I don't know if Carter Smith is ever going to figure out all the physical tools. I don't know if the game moves too fast for him mentally. I don't know if it's, just things that he does physically, slow delivery. I don't know. Let's face it, I'm not there, so I don't know what the little nuances are that they don't see Carter Smith doing that. What I do know is that when Carter Smith was on the football field, those teams found a way to win despite all of their shortcomings. That I do know.
Yeah.
And that doesn't mean it's all on. That doesn't mean that it wasn't because we found some things on defense.
And Cooper Catalano were on the other side of the ball by the time Carter Smith got on the field too.
100%, and those things all matter. I'm just saying though that like we all saw him make plays, and some guys, as you know, some guys inspire all other guys. Some guys just have a vibe, and I'm not saying Carter Smith is that guy,
right?
But I do think there's a chance, whether it's here or somewhere else, we find out that's exactly who he is. There was a guy for Georgia years ago, a guy by the name of Mike Bobo. I forget what Mike Bobo's record was at Georgia, but it was something crazy. I'm going to look it up because I know we're almost out of time. But my cousin Aaron and I used to have a theory because he was like a real late NFL draft pick. We're like, well, I don't know, based on what that guy did in college, we said, I'd probably just keep putting him out there until he loses.
Yes.
Like, because he was just kind of, you know what I mean? That guy. I mean, he was just one of those guys where was he the most, was he the most talented guy? Yeah. No, but when he played, they won.
Yeah.
So let's just ride the guy.
Who can do that. John Stocco did that at Wisconsin, by the way.
Yeah, John Stocco, when he went out there, they won.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, real quick on that, because you guys talked about it, then I'll stop talking. For me, by the way, best quarterback of all time is Badgers history is not besides Russell Wilson, is Brooks Bollinger. And if you've read Barry's book, that's essentially what Barry says, is that Brooks was just different that way.
Yeah, he was going to win, and his teammates trusted him and believed in him, and he was going to find a way. And some of those traits are Carter Smith traits. Sadly, in the Carter Smith camp, I don't think we're going to see him on the field at Wisconsin.
No, we're not.
So he'll have to be in the portal a year from now, 9 months from now. Yeah.
And real quick, I will say I do remind people that while Brooks Bollinger had a great team around him, there aren't a lot of freshmen that lead teams to Rose Bowls. So for people who are not sure how great Brooks Bollinger was, a lot of talent around him. Not a lot of kids do that at 18.
Hey, Court, I'm glad we got a chance to do this again. I'll look forward to the next time we get to do a super fan. Always appreciate you. Thanks for taking time out. Your sacrifice out of your day to do this. I know you love doing it too. So great. I'm glad we have that mix together. Appreciate you.
Yep, appreciate you too. On Wisconsin.
Thanks, Courtney. Jim Polzina of the Wisconsin State Journal is standing by now. I add Jimmy to the program. Hey, Jim, thanks for doing this. How are you?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me.
I'm pretty good. This is let me start where I kind of began the show, paying attention, and I get where we are on the calendar. We're just past the quarter pole of games in Major League Baseball. But every year we seem to say, are you surprised? And every year we shouldn't be surprised anymore at how good, and they are good, and right now a good team playing great. The Brewers are just they continue to do what the Brewers do.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And I think I've learned my lesson over the years not to doubt this franchise, because they have a plan and they stick to it. And Pat Murphy is the same guy every day and every year. And they have built around him players who buy into the grind. They love the grind. They wrap their arms around the grind. And that's how you get through a 162 game season. Like, I thought even before this stretch, I heard you talking about, this crucial 18 game stretch. I really thought the important part was that they kept their heads above water when they had some of their biggest bats out of the lineup, to still kind of be in the mix after that early stretch where you weren't going with the lineup you thought you were. I thought that was important just to get to this moment and get Churio and Yelich and those guys back. So yeah, I'm not surprised. I refuse to be surprised anymore.
Yeah. Murph changes his lineup every day. He has not run out the same lineup in a single game this year. He's not had a replicated lineup. But for quite a while there, they didn't have essentially what I would call their 2, 3, 4 hitters in Churio, Yelich, and Vaughn. You take 2, 3, 4 out of any lineup in baseball, and it's going to be different. And they survived that, which I think is, to your point, really impressive. And that's not to mention pitchers. No Quinn Priester, no Woodruff for a bunch of this. They're their number 2 and 3 starters. If Miz is your 1, and he is, then they're your 2 and 3. And then out of the bullpen, no Jared Koenig, no Angel Zerpa, who was expected to be a leverage guy this year. So there's a lot of that. And yet what they still do is go and pay it off at the pay window and continue to win.
Yeah, even if you look at their bullpen, Uribe wasn't as good as we expected early.
Yeah.
So, I wrote about this on opening day. I really thought the key to this season was some of those young arms and how they'd come along. And I maybe expected a little bit of some growing pains early on.
Sure. Yeah.
Harrison's been good, really good, right? Brandon Sproat has been electric at times and has been pretty solid. So those guys have come along maybe faster than I thought they would have. And I think that's allowed this team to kind of be where it is right now. And Miz is Miz. Like we all know there's greatness in there and the potential for greatness. We've seen it, last year we saw it. He's been even better than I imagined. And now you just kind of knock on wood and hope he stays healthy, because he is as dominant of a pitcher as they've had in quite some time. And yet he still has a lot to learn.
Yeah, it is a very good story. And I had David Kaplan on from ESPN 1000 in Chicago at the beginning of the week. We're in a great place from a rivalry standpoint with the city of Chicago. Obviously, Packers, Bears has a ton of juice to it right now. And the two coaches don't like one another, and they're both very good teams. So there's juice there. And the Brewers, Cubs have had this run-in for a while now. There's not much Bucks, Bulls, but that's just a different deal. But we're in a heck of a place for rivalry right now with the city of Chicago, which is great for what you and I do.
Yeah, no, I love it. This rivalry, let's talk about the Bears Packers first of all.
Yeah.
That rivalry will never go away, but it's at its best when both teams are really good or contenders.
Right.
And ditto for the Cubs and Brewers. And I'd add this: if the Cardinals can keep this up, it makes for a really spicy summer with those three teams. If that can be a battle for first place, in the NL Central, because the Cardinals haven't been the Cardinals of late. So if it's those three battling into August and September, I love it. Sign me up.
Jim, let's get a couple of updates. I don't think there has been anything of significance from an update standpoint on Wisconsin and their hunt for an athletic director and how that's going to play out. What can you share? What is new, if anything, in that model?
Yeah, the new old news was the selection committee. Those names coming out. I mean, I think there's, I think the thing I wonder, and I would love to talk to either Lauren Bishop, who's leading that committee, or Eric Wilcox when he finally talks, is what does the selection committee do exactly? How often do they get together? What's the work look like behind the scenes? And then, how do they narrow down the list to get it to Eric Wilcox, and what does he want? What I could sit here and tell you what I think they should hire in terms of the type of person or what the characteristics are, but I'm interested to know what he wants. And it's I spend a lot of time thinking about this. I haven't written a ton on it because I just think it's such a weird time with no permanent chancellor.
Right.
I wonder whether that will keep some people from going for the job. I mean, that's the one thing I worry about. And yet the idea of waiting is tricky too, because you need to make a hire. You need someone in place for the fall. So I don't know if I answered your question. I don't. I think one thing I'll say is this, that I think I know about it. I think it's going to go relatively fast, and I don't know that I would have predicted that, but I talked to someone who wants to be in the race, and he thinks that they'll hire someone by July 1st and have that person in place by August 1st, which is a pretty quick timeline considering it took a month to get this committee together, and that's a lot to do between now and July 1st. So, it's possible that in the next 40 days, we'll know who's leading this department going forward at a really crucial time.
Jim, why isn't Barry Alvarez on the committee? Might he have turned them down, or is he just not named on the committee? Do you think he's part of the process at all?
Yeah, good question. I mean, there's a couple ways I can go. I don't know if he wanted to be. I really don't. I haven't talked to him in a couple weeks, and I talked to him after Chris stepped down, but didn't ask if he wanted to be part of it. I would think he would be part of it somehow. There's enough people on that committee that certainly know him. I would think that someone would pick his brain at some point, but will he have a say, quote unquote? I don't know that to be the case. I think you can make the case for he backed Chris McIntosh the last time, and maybe that's a reason for just kind of going in a different direction and letting a new group and a new set of people kind of lead this charge going forward. I don't know that to be the case, but he did back Mac last time, and I don't think that worked out particularly well.
Do you think Barry's hurt or disappointed in the way Mac handled that role in his time in it?
That's a good question. I thought you were going to ask me if I thought he was disappointed that he left it, and I guess I can only go by what I think Barry's been on a couple interviews, and it seemed like if you read into it, if you read between the lines, if you listen to his voice, it seemed like there was disappointment there, a little bit like when Brett Bielema left, right?
Sure.
I don't know. Barry's in a tough spot. I don't know that he can speak his mind and say, I think this place is worse off than what it was 5 years ago. I don't know. I mean, that would just be me speculating.
Right. But I think it is, right? I mean, that's a fairly easy conclusion to look at it and say that they are not in as good a place as they were 5 years ago. I think that's a simple.
I can say that. I can certainly say that.
Go there. Yeah, we can say it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair assessment. I would say this, Mike, and this is not to make a defense, but I think it's to be fair and balanced here. This is the hardest time ever to be an athletic director, right? Yes. I think that's the challenge. You have to at least give a little bit of grace to Chris McIntosh, but do I think this place is in a better spot than it was 5 years ago? No, I don't think that. Yeah,
this will be, I think, actually a productive season. But it certainly will be an interesting season, and it's the fork in the road that Wisconsin football faces this year. Because if it turns left, which I'm going to call good, we'll be happy. If it goes the other way, then this new athletic director is going to be charged with finding a new coaching staff, and I don't know that anybody wants that. I mean, I would think that if you're a fan of Wisconsin athletics, nobody wants that. You want success. And if it's with Luke Fickell, great. This is that year that determines which path that you're going to take.
Yeah. The thing I worry about, Mike, is there are, you get to that path and there are obvious answers. I think, like 9 wins, I think is continue on down this path. 5 wins is let's get off this path.
Right.
It's the murky middle that
Yep.
Yeah. What do you do? 7-5, 6-6, 7-5 with this schedule is to me, the bare minimum, right? Like this, this is you have to win 7 games with this schedule. If you can't do that, then I think you've got a big problem. The other thing that will continue to be a problem here, or at least a consideration, is the buyout. While it shrinks every year, is I think still at this point, at the end of the season, still in the 20 million range. That's a lot of money to pay off for a school that is talking about how unsustainable college athletics are right now, and how that is asking for 14.6 million from taxpayers, right? It's a tough thing to then go into the foundation and that rainy day fund sitting there and pull $20 million out, or whatever it would take to buy out Luke Fickell.
Just to kind of illustrate your point, I want to play out a scenario of 8-4, because some people say 8-4, there you go, you're good. What if the 8-4 is a loss against Notre Dame, a loss against Penn State, a loss against USC, and a loss against Iowa? That means that your wins are Western Illinois, Eastern Michigan, Michigan State, UCLA, Rutgers, Maryland, Purdue, and Minnesota. Now, on the number side, right, 8-4 looks good, especially where you've been. But on the quality side, you'd look at that and go, you didn't beat anybody again. You lost again to Iowa. You lost at home against USC. You lose to Penn State with a new coach in their Big Ten opener, and you lost to Notre Dame. There's no hang your hat on a win. And right now, if you live in that world where Washington and Illinois last year are your hang your hat wins, it's for a lot of people, Jim, that's not good enough.
No, it won't be good enough for a lot of fans and fans who have kind of at this time every year sit and say, am I going to buy season tickets for the next year, which is, a big revenue driver. I do wonder if 8-4 is enough though, can you sell that to, hey, we took a big step. We doubled our win total. Let's give them a 5th year and maybe we're trending in the right direction. And going back to my previous answer, you're not then paying $20 million buyout. But it really comes down to, Mike, like we can sit here and analyze this. It comes down to who is the next person, right?
Yeah, right.
Does the next person have somebody in mind? Can the next person convince Eric Wilcox that, hey, it's time to make a change. You gave me this job, let me do it. And it just comes down to who that person is. And I don't know.
Jim, let's flip up and talk a little bit about the Green Bay Packers and the NFL. So the NFL has forwarded out this international game growth concept, which has been approved. And if indeed they roll forward in that way, and it looks like they're going to, that every team would play an international game every year. The NFL is the most successful sports franchise in America. So they continue to move in this direction. Do you like what they're doing? And Packers will play a Wednesday game and a Friday game this year. They're going to play on Christmas Day. They're going to play on the night before Thanksgiving, so that it continues to expand out. We're moving to a subscription-based television model. There are more and more games in that way. Are we okay? Are they doing it slow enough? Are they, what's this process look like to you?
Yeah, I mean, you said subscription based. That's where my mind was going to go because, and listen, I'm getting to be an older guy, but I also have a lot of older voices in my head of, a mother and subscribers who are kind of, in that age range where they just don't want to buy multiple stream services. I think that's the bother, is that how many different, it used to be so easy. And now you need different streaming services to see your favorite team play. So that's the struggle on my end. I mean, and that's trickling down to the college, certainly, is that TV runs the world and dates and times don't make sense for the casual fan or even the ticket buying fan. That's a hard thing to get past. And yet it's hard if you're a professional organization or Big Ten to turn down the money that you're getting from these companies, because they have a lot of money to throw around. So, going back to your original point, I like the idea of growing the game. I think that's always good. And one way to grow the game internationally is to put it in front of those people. Don't make them come to you, go to them. So I understand the logic, and certainly the more places you can get over there and get your product in front of them, it certainly makes sense to me. The rest of us kind of have to adapt to some degree. And that's, I don't love that, but I understand it from a business perspective. It's just, sports has always been a business. It's just become even more and more of a business. Like I wrote something this morning talking to Greg Gard about he's pushing for a 40 game regular season in college basketball. Right now it's at 32. That's a big step up. And his point is we're trying to make revenue, right? Well, we need more games. We need more inventory. Inventory is the word he used. And it's like, wow, that's where we're at. But I get it. Like if you're a coach, you're a CEO, you're trying to make money, you're trying to survive. And that's where we're at.
Are we leaning towards the end? One other question before I let you go. Are we going to lean towards the end of the college football conference championship game and the Big Ten and conference basketball tournaments with the expansion of the full tournament and the expansion of the college football playoff? Are we into its last couple of years or maybe last year of a conference championship in college football?
The tough thing with that, Mike, is the reason it was invented in the first place is that it's such a moneymaker.
Yes.
And I think you got to separate those two to some degree. The NCAA tournament hasn't grown enough yet. I mean, it's only at 76 only. That I think the Big Ten tournament and the conference tournaments are still valuable. If in 2032, I believe, when the television contract comes up again, if that tournament gets bigger, if it gets in the 96 range, I'm just throwing out a number, then I think you have to have a discussion about, are these conference tournaments even worth it? Because you're going to have to spread this tournament over 4 weekends instead of 3.
Yeah.
College football, the conference title game, I think, is a discussion worth having, especially if you go to 24 teams. It gets to be such a long schedule. I mean, some of these teams are going to be playing NFL type.
And some of the teams, Jim, aren't playing for anything in their conference championship game. It might hurt them more than help them to have to play that game.
Absolutely. I mean, that's been a problem. It's minor, more of a minor problem, but an 18 team league getting down to the final two when you're not playing an equal schedule, you don't always have the best two teams in those things. So yeah, it's just kind of messy, but I'll go back to what I said initially is that Fox is hosting the Big Ten title game. They're paid a lot of money to have that game. A lot of people are still watching. It's tough to turn down that money.
Yeah. Jim Polzine, hey, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it. I hope you had a good time away. I know you got a chance to travel a little bit. Good to get it refreshed. Good to see you and visit with you. We'll do it again soon.
Yeah, my pleasure, Mike. Take care.
Thanks. Hello, Steve Stricker. How are you?
Hi, Mike. How you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. Thanks for doing this. You're kind of doing a little bit of the car wash today with AmFam Media Day, and it's I'll just begin here because I think this is the question that is number one on my mind. Where are you health wise? I've seen you over at the chipping area working on the short side of the game, but where are you from a playing standpoint here? Just a couple of weeks out.
Yeah, mainly short game stuff so far. Yesterday I hit some wedges and some 9-irons, maybe about 6 9-irons. It's starting to feel a little bit stronger. It's kind of wait and see every day kind of thing yet, but I'm working towards making sure that I can play for sure in a couple weeks. I don't know what kind of game I'll have. I'm going to maybe have to rely on my partner a lot, but I'm looking forward to getting back out there. It's been a while. I've missed the competition and the ability to get out there and play for sure.
Yeah. And just to back it up for those who aren't familiar, you had a hip replacement and then you had a little issue with that where you were trending in the right direction, but then had a little setback on an injury there. Is that a fair way to paint the picture?
Yeah, the hip replacement went really well. I had played golf 2 18-hole rounds back, I think, in March when we had those really couple days of a warm spell. I went down and played in Edgerton 18 holes at Town Club, and then I played over at the Oaks 18 holes, and I was supposed to play actually 5 or 6 weeks ago. I was going to try to play there down in Florida. And I was working towards that and then ended up pulling a muscle on the same hip that I got replaced. It didn't do anything to the replacement part. That all was okay, but the muscle has been literally a pain to come back from. And, the doctor's like, hey, don't do that again. Otherwise, you're going to be out for even longer. So that's been really slow to come back. I still got a lot of tightness there, which kind of gives me a little bit of the willies, to be quite honest with you, because I was just when I did it, I was hitting balls up here at TPC and I was hitting like little 80-yard wedges when I pulled the muscle. It wasn't even like I was taking a driver swing. So that's concerning. So I'm just taking it as slow as I can and hopefully cram for this test that's coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah. From the tournament standpoint, from the AmFam Championship, you went to this format, the team 2-man format, when you flipped over to TPC a year ago. This is the second year of doing that. You've had kind of a year to mull that over, and I think it was successful last year. I think you guys thought it was successful. How does that play itself forward, Stephen? How do you make those decisions?
Yeah, it was very successful. We heard it from both the fans, the players, also, everybody involved, the course, the volunteers. It was a different venue. The players loved it. A new course to learn, to get to know. And the format suits this course very well. Where there's a lot of risk reward here. There's hazards that you got to navigate, as and it's just
I know.
we all do.
Yeah.
So it's a good format for this course. The players love it, and it shows in the field that's coming here again this year. The top players are coming. They're excited to come here as well.
How have you, like, if you step back and look at it, for you, how has this tournament worked out from from the inception of you combining with AmFam to say, hey, let's do this and put the wheels in motion? What is your perspective on where this tournament has come from, where it is today, and what the future looks like?
Yeah, great question. I think I got that question a lot here today, but I think it's the money's raised, through these 10, 11 years that we've been in existence, nearly 22 million that has gone back to local charities, half of that going to the American Children's Hospital or American Family Children's Hospital. That brings a smile to all of our faces.
Yeah.
That's why we got into this business to start with. When I went to Jack Salzwedel, the former CEO of American Family Insurance, we tried to come up with a way to raise money for local charities, and this is what it's morphed into. And we couldn't be happier. And the whole team at AmFam has been unbelievable. New CEO Bill Westrate is on board with all this, and they're the reason. They're the backbone, and I kind of hop on along for the ride with them, and it's a great partnership. And the money's raised is really unbelievable in my mind, and that's why we continue to do it, and that's what's going to drive us going forward too. The ability to continue this on, to strive for, I don't know if it can get better. I mean, that's a lot of pressure on our tournament director, Nate, but
he can handle it.
He's up for the challenge. But it's something that we continue to strive for, to raise more and more money each and every year, because we know that how much that means to these charities when we get back.
Steve, on your side on playing, you got it. Mario is your partner. Do you have a backup, or what would the backup be if you can't get to the ability that you have a pride in your game where you're not comfortable? What do you do? What's the backup?
Well, he would have to go. His partner would come off an alternate list if I can't go, or I could maybe just chip and putt for him. Yeah, right. I hope it doesn't. I hope it doesn't come down to that. But I'm pretty certain I'll be okay at some point, just to give it a go. And I'm just taking my time. I don't know how good I'll be for him, but it'll be a challenge. I'm up for challenges, and this won't be anything different than what I've had to face before. So I'm looking forward to it.
Steve, I think, and I don't know this for a fact, but I think it's a 3-year. Was it a 3-year contract with TPC? Where does that sit? And you had a great tournament host at University Ridge for all those years. How does the TPC AmFam future look, or is that on the conversation table?
Nothing so far. I mean, we have another year next year that we'll be back here for, and then I'm sure we'll probably look forward to, more commitments to stay here again. And it's been a great venue for us, and Dennis and his team here at TPC enjoy having us here, and it's good for the club. It's good for us. The community enjoyed it last year here, and it's just different, for the players as well, this team competition and this golf course. So in year one was a good test, and it passed with flying colors, and we're going to do it again this year, and we'll be back here again next year.
Steve, I'll give you one more and then let you go, because I know you've got other things that are happening there at TPC today with the media day. Luke Donald's going to be the European coach again. I mean, he's just going to stay in that role. Was there consideration for you to do it a second time? Might there be conversations down the road to do that again? Or for you, was that enough and you'll just be comfortable not doing that again?
Yeah, I think, I had a couple of reporters reach out to me, during that time frame when our captain wasn't announced. I had no communication with the PGA of America at any point in time. So I don't know if they even thought of me to do it again or not. That ship has probably sailed for me, to do it anymore. It was a great run that we had at Whistling Straits. I had an unbelievable time. So why would I want to mess that up if I was to do it again? But Luke Donald has proven that he is very capable of doing that job, especially winning here in the States. But yeah, I entertained the thought for sure when they hadn't announced anybody for a while. And but this point in time in my career, it was wise for me to stay away from it, I think.
Yeah. Last one. Do you think there will be a Tiger sighting at the AmFam Championship at some point down the road? Obviously, it's not going to be this year, but that has always been in conversation. This year he's eligible, but it's not going to happen.
Right.
But do you think that that's in play down the road?
For sure. At some point, I think Tiger Woods will come here to play. Not sure when that's going to be, but I'm pretty certain he'll be here at some point.
Yeah. More than Tiger, I want you to play. All right. So
yeah, well, thanks, Mike.
Let's get you healthy and back out there in the tournament. Thanks for doing this. I know you got a bunch of them going on. Thanks for spending a few minutes with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Mike. I'll see you here in a couple of weeks.
Vinny, how are you?
What's up, Mike? Can you hear me all right?
I got you.
Yeah, awesome.
There's some joy in this, and I get that, especially from a fan standpoint, but I wonder if there's joy. I'm going to get to that part from a player. And obviously you're an analyst and you got a vested interest in it, but when you watched PCA, do you think he needed a night off, or do you think Murph might have done it differently after the line drive from Hamilton goes through his legs?
Well, he shouldn't have even been playing that game. I agree with you. He should have had a night off against a tough lefty and Kyle Harrison. But after that ball went through his legs, I think Murphy would have definitely pulled him out of the game. We saw Murphy do that last year when Sal Frelick missed the cutoff man, right? Yeah. So I think 100% you send a message. He knows, and that's the thing. You listen to PCA's comments after the game. It's a tough place to play. It's not as tough as New York. It's not as tough as, let's say, Boston, but maybe Boston, right? I mean, it's a tough place to play. It's a tough media market. And so his comments after the game were very somber. They were very he looked like he was almost feeling sorry for himself a little bit. And so
about letting the city down, right? Boy, you're carrying too much weight if you're worried about letting the city of Chicago down in a 5-game stretch in May.
I totally agree. Yeah. So, I mean, there's too much weight on his shoulders, it seems. So he shouldn't have played. That's not the right headspace to be in. You would never hear, Michael Jordan say that. Of course, I'm not comparing him to Michael Jordan, but you'd never hear a guy, and they paid him a lot of money to be a superstar, and he is far from it right now. And so he should have had a day. The Brewers and this rivalry, I think, is totally in the heads of the Cubs players, and including PCA. I mean, so I can keep going. That was so much fun to do that series, but he should have had a day, and Counsell probably could have handled that a little bit differently.
Let me ask you about the players' mentality. I said earlier that I've asked athletes this for my entire career. If they enjoy winning more at home or on the road, there's a great joy to shutting up a sold out, hyped up crowd on the road. And the Brewers did that 3 nights in a row at Wrigley. Walk me through a player mentality of those moments.
Well, it's awesome to do that for sure. If it's a rivalry, that adds another layer to it. And if it's a rivalry against the playoff team that kind of got in your heads last year. Remember, they were chanting Freddie, Freddie, Freddie when Freddie was on the mound last year, and it definitely affected him. It's all of a sudden you come in to that hostile Wrigley crowd and you totally silence them, not only in game 1, not only in game 2, but you sweep them. You outscore them 19-5. You actually embarrass them on their own field. And that feels, all those different layers added on, that 100%, Mike, that feels good as a player. And especially because, the fans come up and they call it Wrigley North. And all of a sudden you come down and you make American Family Field South, and you can call it that, right? Just because the way that they were able to silence those Cub fans, it feels so good. It feels so good as an analyst to come in there and watch what happened to that crowd. They were totally dejected. They had the wind taken out of their sails, and that'll affect them going forward. Watch.
Yeah, John sends in emptied out Wrigley. It was majestic. And a lot of Brewers fans making their way down. Darren weighed in, or Brian weighed in. Cubs losing now. It's football season's fans chanting "Green Bay sucks." You know that one of the great things was 2 nights ago when Jake Bauers is at the plate, and there is the chant going on. The Green Bay sucks, and then Jake Bauers hits a 3-run homer while they're chanting. Thank you. That was those moments are so good. Let me, we forget about this, but I'm going to bring it back to the table. A year ago, and I don't know the dates, but it doesn't matter. You'll get where I'm going. A year ago, there was a rain out at Wrigley. That it didn't rain that night. Murph was hot. Like the next night they beat him, but Murph was in a mood. And since that moment where they had the rain out last year on a non-rain day, the Brewers have, other than the 2 playoff games in Chicago where they got beat in those 2, they've kind of dominated what's been going on. Murph doesn't forget. He's on. These things matter to him, don't they?
100%. And they don't see these games. Trust me, they do not. And I know the front office doesn't. The players don't. Murph doesn't. The coaching staff doesn't. They don't see these games against the Cubs. It's just 1 out of 162 games. Nope. Absolutely not. They do not. Yes, that was a unique situation because the rain out, then they could have played a doubleheader the next day. They did not want to face Jacob Misiorowski. Right. Okay. And so the rain out happened. And this is interesting because I'm gonna kind of bring this back full kind of circle here of what you're talking about. So then they had to play a doubleheader during a stretch where they had to play, what was it, 16 games in 17 days or some crazy stretch.
Yeah, I think it was more games than days. I thought it
was
more
games than days. You're right, because of the doubleheader. 18 games in 17 days. That's what it was. And so remember, Mike, they brought up Robert Gasser to spot start against the Minnesota Twins when it was Miz's day to pitch. Yeah. If you remember that. So why? I personally, and I don't have confirmation on this, but I personally think that it's because, okay, you don't want to face Miz last year. You're going to face him this time in game 1 when we come to Wrigley, first time to face you. And there's some of that where there's some spite to it. And we're going to, okay, you don't want to face him. You're going to face him now. But there's also some strategy to that. Because why? The divisional games mean more. They just do because of the tiebreaker, right? Not only because you're going to battle all year long in this division, but at the same time, the tiebreaker is whoever wins the season series gets that tiebreaker if there is in case of tie. So I thought that was a little bit of, a little middle finger to the Cubs. Hey, you don't want to face them last year. You're going to face him this upcoming series, and he showed up in a big way. He silenced their bats all series long. I really do believe that. Even though they're cold, you face a Jacob Misiorowski throwing like he has been throwing, and you embarrass those hitters the way that he did. And I'm using that word without hyperbole. He embarrassed the Cubs hitters, and all of a sudden you have to. Well, it was game 2, but then all of a sudden now you got to do it again against Kyle Harrison, and he was just as good.
Yeah, and the work that they've gotten, I want to talk about Kyle Harrison, but let me do this. Let me go backwards. The bullpen work that they got from Chad Patrick, from Drone, last night from DL Hall, keeping some of your big guns down pays dividends, not just short term, but we had somebody in on our YouTube comments that said, now the Cubs really haven't seen the Brewers' elite end of the bullpen much in this series. So the next time they see him, it'll be the first time that they're kind of seeing him. That work, it maybe goes unnoticed by some, but you know it better than I do. It's important what they got out of the bullpen when Miz left, and the work that they got from Patrick over the weekend. All of it matters.
Yeah, that's a really good, astute point by, I forget who made that comment. Yeah, I read that comment too. Yeah. That's a really astute point because, yes, you see these relievers enough, and you see this in the playoffs all the time where the relievers are coming in after the 3rd inning. The starter goes one time through the order in the playoffs, and all of a sudden in a 5-game series, you're seeing the same relievers over and over and over again. There's no element of a surprise. It's almost like, the 3rd time through the order stat, which hurts. It's a detriment to pitchers. And all of a sudden, okay, you're bringing in a reliever. Okay, that's the 3rd at-bat against this guy in that series. Same idea here in the regular season, 100%. Chad Patrick has been phenomenal. Shane Drone's been phenomenal in piggybacking Brandon Sproat and also piggybacking Robert Gasser in that Minnesota game. It's so it allows not only you not to overexpose to the opposing batters your high-end leverage relievers, but it also keeps them fresh. Think about how gassed that they were. Remember, Abner Uribe last year in October his velo kind of was down a little bit. He threw so many innings. Same thing with Trevor McGill at the start of this season. He looked like he was hurt again. And now all of a sudden you're going to have Chad Patrick that can throw multiples, Shane Drowan that can throw multiples, although he might end up in the rotation at some point. He's throwing so well. You're covering these innings. And then remember, Mike, you're not only covering those innings because they can go long in a game, 50 pitches, 51 pitches for Chad Patrick that last game in Minnesota, but also on his bullpen day. Now, I say that because as a starter, that second day after your start, you're throwing a bullpen. Yeah. They're not doing that with Chad Patrick. I know he's in the bullpen, but they're not having him throw a bullpen. They're keeping him stretched out, but they're having him throw that one inning or that short appearance on that third day after he just threw 52 pitches in Minnesota. Yeah. So it's brilliant the way that they're navigating this. They have so much starting pitching depth that they can do this, and it's going to pay off dividends for their bullpen in the long run.
Tell us why Kyle Harrison is so untouchable right now. He's really a two-pitch pitcher, and the stuff is good. It's not phenomenal, like from a velo standpoint, although he hit 98?
98,
times last night. Yeah. Why is he so good? I know that they've liked his talent previously, but he hadn't had this level of success. And I know we're kind of beating a dead horse on Chris Hook and Jim Henderson and what the Brewers do with pitchers. But what did the Cubs not see from him? Why could they not touch him? Why was he so good again last night?
So he's always had a great fastball. So that's part of the reason why the Brewers identified him and then go ahead and acquire a guy that has a fastball that is hard to square up. There's some qualities, release characteristics, they call them, out of the hand of Kyle Harrison that makes it deceptive for a hitter to be able to pick up. Average fastball at 94.5 or 95 miles per hour, which is good velocity, but at the same time, if you have these other things about the fastball that make it deceptive, make it hard to pick up from a hitter, then you're going to go ahead and realize, and the Brewers do a great job of this, realize, all right, that leaves a lot of room for error for a guy like Kyle Harrison, meaning he doesn't have to be great with his command. He can throw it in the zone, and he's going to get a lot of swings and misses on it. He's going to get a lot of miss hits on it, a lot of pop-ups on it. We saw that. We've seen that his entire Brewers tenure so far. And so what makes him so deceptive? Okay, a couple of things. So think about if a pitcher is releasing the ball, this is a little nerdy, but I'll try and make it simple. Releasing the ball closer to the ground in space. Okay, that's kind of what he does. Same thing with Jacob Mizorowski. So they have a low release height. Think about if a pitcher is releasing
from
the
arm
ball,
angle, right? It's different from arm angle. It's how your body, maybe where your legs are bent and how it. Go ahead.
Yeah, the way that he gets down the mound. Now. It's not deceptive if you're seeing a guy with a low arm angle, like you pointed out, but is throwing kind of sidearm and throwing sinkers. A hitter's brain says, okay, that's a sinker. I've seen that a million times from a sidearm, low three-quarter guy. That's a sinker, and I'm going to expect the ball to sink. Now, with Kyle Harrison, he's not throwing a sinker. He's throwing an exceptional four-seamer at the top of the zone. So the hitter's brain says, I'm expecting that to sink, but it's not. That's essentially what's happening. And that's why it's so hard to get on top of guys like Kyle Harrison. Freddie Peralta had the same thing, right? And so there's other things about it. Like, so he's a little bit across his body as well. So he's got an angle, basically angles it into a right-hander. It's going across like this. So there's other things that make him hard to square up. And now you're seeing him. And the big thing about what he's doing, and again, yes, Chris Hook, Jim Henderson, and Juan Sandoval, they've taught him to repeat his delivery at a very high level now. So it's almost like a jump shooter who has a great jump shot. It can repeat it over and over and over. It's obviously different, right? But it's the idea of being smooth, fluid, and athletic through your release and being able to repeat it over and over. Kyle Harrison, he is a good athlete. He doesn't necessarily, you take a look at his body type, doesn't necessarily look like a great athlete, but the way that he is repeating his delivery and explosive he is super explosive, is the reason why he's been so successful.
I want to jump into some front office stuff here in a moment, but there's what's that video program that now hitters get to hit against in which they can see? What's it?
It's called Traject.
Okay, so does everybody have it? Is it in their facilities, like in the Brewers indoor cages by the clubhouse? Is that part of the system?
Yep, every team has it. The Brewers Traject system is in the cage that you walk by every time that you go to the clubhouse. Mm-hmm.
So when you're talking about being deceptive in Kyle Harrison, I mean, the Cubs obviously have the same thing. Are there hitters in prep? Are there hitters the day of working against their opposing pitcher for that night in the cage? Is that a routine thing now?
Yeah, they're doing it. It's something about. That's a great question. There's still something about it where it still makes it difficult now, especially because now you're still pitching. So you have that deceptive fastball, but now all of a sudden he's throwing that slurve off of it.
Right.
So now you have to contend with top and bottom. And the other thing you're seeing teams do, and I saw this, and they're doing it against Jacob Mizorowski, they're putting the pitching machine on the ground and they're shooting it upwards. To kind of simulate, okay, where does my barrel have to be to get on top? All that's well and good, and I'm sure it's helped some hitters kind of learn how to keep that barrel on top of the baseball. But now all of a sudden, it's still old school pitching to go along with all this deceptive, nerdy stuff, right? So, that's what the difference is. We saw Jacob Mizorowski get hit last year. He's always had that deceptive fastball. Same thing with Kyle Harrison. He's always had this deceptive fastball. But now you add in the fact that these guys are repeating their delivery at a high level and they're pitching. They're landing multiple pitches in the zone and they're going top to bottom. They're feeling, okay, this hitter's looking for this, so I'm gonna break off that slurve back foot. Oh, he thinks that I might be thinking that. I'm gonna go back up top. It's that cat and mouse. That's the art of this. And so that's why you can train for it all day long, but you still have to contend against the guy who's doing mind tricks with you in the box.
Vinny, one other nerdy thing, and then I'll get to the front office, which is also going to be a little nerdy. When we watch replays of swings and misses, of whiffs on four-seam fastballs, when they show the replay, the barrel is always I shouldn't say always. Almost always under the ball. And that is what you're talking about because the hitter is late? Is that why it's under?
He's late and his brain says the ball's here and I need to get the barrel there. But again, your eyes and your brain aren't understanding that it's actually gravity is actually not being forced on that baseball as much as it should. So that's the nerdy part where it's actually almost so it looks like it's rising to the hitter. But it doesn't rise, but it's an illusion. And that's why the hitters are underneath. And it's a blink of an eye. It looks easy on TV, especially when you slow it down, but it is a blink of an eye and you don't have a lot of time. In fact, you have so little time that you have to cheat. You have to start your swing in your brain before he releases the ball. That's how fast the ball is coming.
It's why they look so awful swinging and missing on sliders because the brain says go fastball because it looks like it out of the hand, and then the ball bounces and they've still swung because you can't stop at that point. Exactly. All right, let me go nerdy front office stuff. On January 21st, the Brewers made a trade with the Mets. They sent Freddie Peralta to New York, and in return, you got Brandon Sproat and Jet Williams. Now, Jet is all minor league stuff, but in 45 games, he's hitting .254. With 15 extra base hits, 5 of those are home runs. His OPS AAA is 800. He's got 11 stolen bases. He's going to be part of what they do at some point here. Brandon Sproat, 7 games started. He's 1-2, and his ERA is 5.75, but that is heavily inflated by his first outing. He's been fantastic, and here's the key on that trade, because Freddie Peralta has been good for the Mets. The Mets are not good. He's got a 3.31 ERA and a 1.25 whip. He's been good. He's making $8 million, and it's a 1-year deal because he's an unrestricted free agent. The Brewers, on the other hand, with Sproat, 7 games started, and that ERA that I talked about that is high, inflated because of his first outing, he's making $780,000, and he's got 2 years of pre-arb in front of him. That's when we talk about these trades. It's why the Brewers made the move with Peralta with 1 year left to get this return. I don't know why people trade with the Brewers anymore, because Matt Arnold wins these, but that's an example of winning. And there's another one I'll give you after you talk about that.
They continue to do this. They're going to churn their roster forever. Unless you sign a guy to like what they signed Cooper Pratt and what they signed Jackson Churio to these long-term deals, I don't think I think this is working so well that I don't know if the Brewers will ever sign a guy to like a $250 million deal. And that might not be what fans want to see or hear, but this is working. And it's because of these trades like this. Freddie Peralta, yes, he was a great Brewer. We all hated to see him go because of what he meant to the city. Everyone loved it. He's such a great guy on top of his performance on the mound, but he had 1 year left. And then you get a guy who, Brandon Sproat, he is nowhere close to being a finished product. There's going to be a slower burn with his development, similar to what a Corbin Burns had to go through, almost a full year of struggling and going back down to AAA, pitching out of the bullpen, and then going into a starter role. There will be a slow burn, but he's got as good a stuff as a Corbin Burns. He throws 100. He's got a nasty cutter, nasty breaking ball. So if you can flip a Freddie Peralta and get a guy like that who you have such a track record of fixing pitchers and helping these guys become top-end starters, why wouldn't you do that? And then you all of a sudden can add a Jet Williams in here who look, I get it. I hear the narrative, and I'm kind of in agreement. There needs to be something done about the left side of the infield in terms of offensive production, and maybe Jet Williams and Cooper Pratt are going to be those guys to help. Jet Williams looks like a guy. He almost looks like, to me, he looks like Alex Bregman. I mean, he's short. Yeah. He's as short as Alex Bregman, but he's got some thump in the bat, definitely to the pull side, and he can pick it at third, at second, even in center field. They're talking about him being amazing in center. So why wouldn't you make those trades? I am 100%. And Mike, we've talked about this too. Yeah. And I'll just add this real quick, that the Brewers have, in the fan base, the front office, the coaching, and I'll even emphasize the fan base. We get it that this is how we got to do it. So we're going to support these types of players and in their development, even if it takes a long time at the big league level. We're not going to boo players off the field. Like Caleb Durbin was getting booed after 20 at-bats in Boston.
Yeah.
We don't do that. That's just not what we do. That's not, and so it's an advantage to be a small market, but also with a fan base that gets it and gets that this is how we got to do it in order to be. There's no other. How many other teams have been this successful the last 8 years? I mean, there's the Dodgers. I think it's the Dodgers.
Yeah,
that's about it. So something's working, Mike.
Vinny, I want to get to the other trade, which is even more impressive, but let me do this first. Let me talk about our sponsors, because OneCommunity.bank is a great place for you to be, whether you're a first-time home buyer looking to purchase or build a new home or ready to refinance your existing mortgage. One Community Bank has a mortgage solution that will fit your needs. Go to OneCommunity.bank. One Community Bank is a member FDIC and an equal housing lender. We're also presented by our friends at M3 Insurance. M3's commitment to small business runs deep. They're passionate about helping small businesses grow and stay strong by reducing the friction that comes with protecting their operations and their people. Go to m3ins.com. We're also brought to you by Neuroscience Group. After a car accident, workplace injury, or sports concussion, getting the right care matters. Their comprehensive concussion program brings together specialists focused on helping you heal and get back to what you love. Neurosciencegroup.com. And we're also presented by our friends at Potawatomi Sportsbook and Casino. You can roll out the winning this May at Potawatomi Casino Hotel, Milwaukee, with Tic Tac Home Run. Also brought to you by Habish, and Rotier, all injury updates, including mine, presented by Habish, and Rotier, 13 locations to ensure you get a hometown attorney who understands your life and the impacts of your injury on you and your life, personally committed to your recovery. Habish, and Rotier. So, Vinny, as I go through the other trade that happened, this one happened on February 9th with the Red Sox. The Brewers sent Caleb Durbin, Andrew Monasterio, and Ziegler to Boston. Now, Ziegler has not played at the major league level this year, so he's got no major league service this year. Durbin is hitting 169, 9 extra base hits, 1 home run. His OPS is 495. He's got 4 stolen bases. Monasterio, 26 games, a little bit better, 250 average, 9 extra base hits and a home run, a 682 OPS. But in return, the Brewers got Kyle Harrison, the guy we talked about last night. And Drowan, he's 8 games, 1 start, and extraordinary numbers for him, 2.57 ERA, 1.14 whip. And they got David Hamilton. And Vinny, you put all of those things together, and I didn't even mention money. Now, the money is pretty even there because you're trading major league minimums for major league minimums, but there's control for the Brewers on the players on the return side. These things matter, and the Brewers are winning significant trades. They are so much better because of the players that they got in return for both of those sets of moves. And they weren't totally popular or really talked about extensively, but now that we're seeing them on the field, another win for Matt Arnold and the front office.
The initial reaction, if you remember, was, oh no, what are we going to do now that Caleb Durbin is gone? And Caleb Durbin was great last year, and he was looking like he was going to be the third baseman for the Brewers for a number of years. But I thought Caleb Durbin was actually probably played his best baseball last year in Milwaukee. And this is exactly what I just was talking about, that it's a easier place to play than Boston for sure. It's still the big league, so you still have to perform. There's a lot of pressure on you, but Caleb Durbin really settled in last year. And so now the Brewers understood, like, this is where we're going to sell him at his peak. And we're going to go ahead and get a couple of guys that are going to help us in the pitching department. And, I don't know if the Brewers, I don't know if we'd be talking about this team with such optimism right now if they didn't have both those guys, Harrison and Drowan.
Yeah.
I don't know, because Drowan offers you a great left-handed arm out of the pen right now, but Mike, he could start and be really, really good. I mean, and when you talk
to Chris, of those pitchers that you acquired in those two could or maybe will be in the rotation. We're talking about Sproat, Drone, and Harrison.
100%, and better than just innings eaters at the back end of your rotation. I mean, these guys could be. I think Drowan's probably his ceiling is probably like a mid rotation starter, which is super valuable, super valuable. Yeah. So, but the other two guys, those are top end type of arms, and Kyle Harrison right now has got a 1.77 ERA. Yeah. And is top is 7th in all of baseball. I don't think he qualifies, but 7th in all of baseball in ERA among starting pitchers. I mean, just absolutely remarkable. And so now all of a sudden you're thinking, okay, you have Miz and Kyle Harrison as your 1-2 punch in a potential playoff series. And I know it's just past the midpoint in May, but I'm thinking about their 1-2 punch in the playoffs. Yeah. Because this team, no team has done more winning than the Milwaukee Brewers since last May. I mean, they won 97 games last year, so since last year. But when you're talking about May, I think it was May 23rd last year when they turned it on, and they ended up from that point on 40 games over 500. Now, if you look back to that time, they're about 50 games over 500. Are you kidding me? There's no hotter team. This team is going to keep rolling. A little bit tougher division, a little bit tougher league in the National League just in general. So it's not going to be as easy. I mean, you're probably not going to see a 14-game winning streak this year, but maybe. You never know. This team hasn't surprised. I mean, they keep surprising you, but then you realize, okay, that makes sense. This team's
day
really
off
good
today, and then Dodgers Cardinals in. By the way, Zach says, and this is a good point, and we've talked about this from time to time. Good teams know when to get off players. Good front offices. Ron Wolf always said it's better a year too early than a year too late. And the Brewers have done that. We all love Willy Adames, but Willy Adames has not been the same guy. Durbin, I think, would have been much better staying in Milwaukee. I don't think he would have struggled the way that goes to your point about some cities are tougher to play in, and Boston is one of those. If you watch the docs on what Boston Red Sox players go through, it's different and not in a comfortable, good way.
Right.
But the Brewers have done a really good job of getting off players, now as opposed to too late. Devin Williams is one of those. Yep. Josh Hader has had a great career after he left Milwaukee. That one will always be looked at with a discerning eye. But the rest of them seem to have been the right time to move off of a player.
You're not going to be 100% in any of these moves. And that's where Matt Arnold and Matt Klentak and the rest of the front office, they do just a great job. Matt Klein, they do a great job of understanding, like, we're not going to have a hit rate of 100, but we're going to be so meticulous with how we make our decisions, and they might not be popular, but we're going to keep shooting our shot. And they're doing a great job of that. And they're doing a great job. Here's the other thing. They do a great job of communicating to the media and in terms of what they're thinking. And they're being honest about their thinking with some of these moves. And I think that gives them, he's already got a longer leash, is that, if that's what you can call it, or just we are very forgiving with maybe some of his misses, which haven't been very many, because he's been right so often. And also because he's been so honest with the media and with what they're thinking with certain moves and stuff like that. So just brilliant the way that they've constructed this thing. Smallest market in all of baseball, smallest TV market, and they are absolutely brilliant with how they're constructing this roster. And not only with the X's and O's, not only with the OPSs and with all the stats, but also with the clubhouse culture. If you're not a Brewers type of player, Pat Murphy won't want you, and they're going to try and move you. That's you can bet on that. So that's also a factor in this whole thing.
I only had one criticism in the series, and I'm watching it on my Brewers MLB app while I'm out here in Arizona. A little too much boy band talk over the last couple of nights with you and Lev, huh?
We like to have some fun. Sometimes they don't always land, for sure. New Kids on the Block conversation might have been too much. At least we didn't start getting into the songs. I think Levering was actually busted out in a couple of those boy band songs.
Yeah, no kidding. So you're from Racine. A lot of Cubs fans down there. Do you have some Cub fan friends? And do you take advantage of these opportunities to let them know a little bit?
I do have Cub fan friends. They are completely silent right now. And I'm not going to poke the bear. I'm not going to do it. You know what? My silence is actually, the pride that I take in the Brewers beating them, because I know they're quiet on their end and they got their tail between their legs.
Yeah. And they're a good team. All right. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time talking about, hey, the Cubs are pretty good. They've had a bunch of pitching injuries. We got our hands raised on the injury front too. Cubs are a good team in a tough run right now, and that's the way baseball works. You've got to be able to resolve through these roller coaster elements of a season, and right now they're in that dip, and the true test there will be, how do they manage? How do they move on from this? And the Brewers will be, trying to keep it steady, and they got the Dodgers and the Cardinals coming in.
Well, here's the difference between Jed Hoyer and Matt Arnold. Jed Hoyer, the GM of the Cubs, good GM, smart, all that, constructs a good, solid roster. But his big move was what? He acquired Edward Cabrera, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if Matt Arnold and company is going to go ahead and want to acquire him. Like, I'm just watching him pitch. I'm watching his demeanor out on the mound.
Isn't there? Yeah.
He's not a Brewers guy. That's for sure. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just kind of going, he looks like he's going through the motions. He had a little blister on his finger. Might be more serious than we're letting on to, but just his mound presence, his demeanor. And we're on the other side, you're getting Kyle Harrison, who's got that swagger, who is taking it to you every single pitch. And I know he had a great game, but still, that's his demeanor, even when he's getting his butt kicked. So that's the difference. It's those little things, those little subtle things between the two. And they're a good team. They've got some injuries, right? So Cade Horton was supposed to be a guy. He blew out his elbow. But again, the Brewers, this is unfair to say, because because the Brewers have created a roster here where and I'm knocking on wood, it's almost, they've got so much starting pitching depth that, is it bulletproof almost? How many guys that they have that can start? I mean, right now they're rolling with with 4 guys, if you include Gasser, 5 in their rotation that have less than a year of service time under their belts, or less than 2 years, I should say. Just incredible. And they got more guys coming. Woodruff's coming back soon, and Priester.
Yeah,
those 2 guys almost feel like are they the odd man out in this rotation? I mean, how spoiled are you?
No kidding.
So
let me finish with this, because there are Brewer fans that are asking. So this is not meant to be a negative, but the fans are asking about this. At what point do you bring up Jet, or what's the situation with Cooper Pratt as it relates to Louis Rengifo? The decision, because he hasn't done what you hoped he would do as a stopgap and a placeholder for Pratt or Jet or somebody to come up next year. So how does that front office, this brilliant front office, manage and work through that scenario in the next month or so?
That would be a tough call. Jet Williams and Cooper Pratt are ready. It seems like they're ready the way that they're swinging the bat. Cooper Pratt's a major leaguer at this point. Signed a deal. He's on the 40-man roster, signed a $50 million deal. He's actually a major league player getting ready in AAA with at bats. So that's only a matter of time. Now, does he take the place of Joey Ortiz? I'm guessing yes. Now, what about Jet Williams? He's also ready. Does he take the place of Luis Rengifo and David Hamilton over at third base? I would also say yes to that. What do they do with Luis Rengifo? He signed a 1-year, $3.5 million deal. This is something that the Brewers don't do. Front office doesn't do it. Mark Antanasio doesn't do it. They don't eat that kind of money. So I'm not sure. I don't think they've been in this situation, Mike, where a guy, I mean, you look at, I guess you look at Rhys Hoskins last year was making $12.5 million, and he was probably a release at some point, but they kept him on the roster, right? So I don't know what they're going to do with Rengifo, to be honest. They're not in this situation very often.
It is money spent. I mean, it's already spent.
Right.
So if you got money spent and say, okay, the money's already out, so we're going to get production from him or Jet Williams. So, and we'll see. And that might be a trade structure with somebody of which you take on the bulk of his money, even though you've sent him away. You're going to still pay him 75% of the dollars due, because nobody's going to take on that contract with what he hasn't done.
And let me say this, what you do see in those situations, a good point, that, all right, let's just say hypothetical. Okay, we made a mistake here. Again, not very many mistakes that Matt Arnold has made. So we made a mistake, $3.5 million. Instead of just cutting him loose, which you do see teams do that, and just eating the contract, what you can do, like you said, a small deal where you take on the majority, and it'll be listed as Luis Rengifo and cash. It's probably
correct.
He's making 3.5. $3.4999 million, and then you're taking on that whole thing, and the other team's paying $1 of that contract. That happens. Okay. So you're sending them away and cash, and then you get a small prospect back just for the optics of it. So that could happen for sure.
Yeah. One other note, I just want to bring in John's mention here, and I don't agree with this. I would not move Joey Ortiz to third base. I don't think it solves your issue. So if I brought Cooper Pratt up, then Joey Ortiz is my 5th infielder, right?
He's either your utility infielder, or they could send him down, which I wouldn't. They could send him down to get more at-bats and figure out some things hitting-wise. I wouldn't do that because he's so valuable with the glove late in the game, where he could bounce around to third base, give Cooper Pratt a day off at short. I think we're seeing that Joey Ortiz's glove certainly plays.
Oh my God.
And we've seen I'm not trying to knock on David Hamilton. It's just, it's not close defensively. When David Hamilton's at short, it's really not close.
Yeah.
And it hurts your pitching staff a little bit.
And Rengifo is also not a plus defender. No. I know They're hoping he is, but that error that the Cubs called a hit 2 nights ago at third base, on that. Levering was still on that last night, and he's right. You can't call that a base hit. That is an error 100% of the time. The only place that's not an error is at fantasy camp where there are no errors.
It hurts you 100%. So anyone listening, get to fantasy camp because that's going to be a hit for you at camp as well. So, but and then that hurts. And this is kind of trivial, but players think about this. That hurts Aaron Ashby's ERA. So that's 2 earned runs on his ERA that shouldn't be there. So players think about that. Yeah.
Hey, Vinny, I could do this for 2 hours, but we're almost through the hour. I love these conversations. We get a little weedy at times in there, but I think our baseball fans love that, getting a little nerdy on some of the stuff without going overboard. Yep. But talking about these trades and what the Brewers have been able to do and why Kyle Harrison gets so many swings and misses. And last night, by the way, last note here, last night was a perfect night for Kyle Harrison to pitch at Wrigley because the wind's blowing in. He had a bunch of fly balls. Some of those fly balls last night that he was pitching to would have certainly been home runs and well up the bleachers the night before, but he didn't pitch the night before. He pitched last night.
Yeah, that was part of his game plan. And that's why he was so aggressive in the zone. For sure, if the wind was blowing out, he would have probably pitched a little bit differently in certain situations.
Yeah.
But he used the wind to his advantage, and that's super smart. And that's good on William, too, to keep him in the zone and understand, hey, let's just keep attacking because these fly balls are going nowhere.
Vinny, enjoy the rest of the day. And are you working this weekend in the Dodgers or the Cardinals series? What's your role?
I'm in the booth for the Cardinals. I'm off for the Dodgers here, but I'll be paying attention. It's going to be a great series against the Dodgers.
Enjoy your weekend. Always enjoy the visits. Thank you.